Proverbs chapter 9, that's where we're at this week. Looking at some verses out of here. We're looking at starting in verse 1, going through verse 12 is what we're looking at today. So open your Bibles. That's what we're going to be taking a look at. So we're looking at the first half, then next week we'll look at the next half about folly. I guess it's not really a half, but actually verse-wise. So anyway, let's look at Proverbs chapter 9. And, Solomon has taught us that we need to hear and obey wisdom. Now, to do this, we must be diligent to hear. And how do we do that? Well, we must first submit ourselves to the authority of God. For us who are submissive, we know that God's commands are not optional. They're not choices for us to make, but rules we must follow. We must listen to God's commands, keep and truly hear what is being told to us. As the Great Commission says, we must observe all that Jesus has commanded us. We also learn that we must be constant in our learning and practicing of wisdom. We need to be actively doing this. We also heard again about the great blessing of following wisdom. Those who accept wisdom into their life find favor with God. That's really the greatest blessing of all. Finally, we heard that one cannot just simply ignore or willfully go against wisdom without some serious consequences. Transgressing wisdom is a high crime. Choosing to be the fool does violence against your own soul. You are choosing to consign yourself to eternal death. Now, we are quickly coming to the end of the first part of this book of wisdom. Proverbs 1 through 9 is a fairly self-contained book within itself. It opens with a description of wisdom, and then over the next 9 chapters explains what wisdom is. There were some very pointed examples of what a wise person does in light of some things like money and sexuality. And Solomon's constant refrain was, listen. Listen to me. Pay attention. Listen. Now, Solomon's greatest desire was for his son to learn the lessons that God had taught him. Wisdom was more precious than anything he could ever want in the whole world. That leads us to this last section on the personification of wisdom before we look at the personification of folly. We find here that wisdom provides for her followers. Wisdom extends her invitation, and there is an admonition here to avoid folly. And finally, we get one last reminder of what it means to listen to wisdom, or when you don't. So Proverbs 9, 1 through 12 says, Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn her 7 pillars. She has slaughtered her beasts. She has mixed her wine. She has also set her table. She has sent out her young women to call from the highest places in the town. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. To him who lacks sense, she says, Come and eat of my bread, and drink of the wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways, and live and walk in the way of insight. Whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abuse, and he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury. Do not reprove a scoffer, or he will hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. For by me your days will be multiplied, and years will be added to your life. If you are wise for yourself. If you scoff, you alone will bear it. So that's the end of our beginning of our lesson today. Come back next time, and we'll continue on looking at this passage that I just read.